I can remember driving through the expensive neighborhoods, admiring the expensive homes, wondering what it must feel like to sleep in a master bedroom the size of the Superdome, wondering what it must feel like to buy them bathrooms the size of a two-car garage. Sleeping in a home with so many bedrooms must be like going to Vegas and staying at the Mirage. Ooh, one day, I would always say, ooh, one day, I would always say, one day I'm gonna get me a home and live like the stars. I want an indoor swimming pool, an indoor gym, and a long driveway for all my cars. Cause all you can do is dream when you grow up in the hood. You wanna see the world and live in places nobody ever thought you could. I thought it must be nice to have those smiles, those smiles. I can still see those smiles on their faces. It's like somebody painted those smiles on their faces, and every problem they had in their life must have faded and left no traces. Their neighborhoods always were well. It seemed like their neighborhoods carried the smell of spring flowers, and my neighborhood carried the cologne of a canal. I thought it must be nice growing up in one of those expensive neighborhoods because everything seemed so right, and maybe that's why they call it real estate, because the quality of living these people had always made my quality of living feel fake. I thought, ooh, one day, I would always say, ooh, one day, I would always say, I couldn't wait till I graduate. I would always say I'm gonna move someplace far away, like maybe New York, the city of dreams. It seemed the people in New York were always 10 years ahead on everything, like maybe Chicago, the windy city. The people from Chicago, the women were always seductively pretty, like maybe LA. I used to want to just get me a Greyhound bus and get dropped off anywhere near Hollywood. I'll even settle for the good side of New Orleans. Mahalia and Louis made it there, so maybe I could. Ooh, one day, I would always say, ooh, one day, I would always say, one day I'm going to get me a house on the St. Charles line so I can have a big window in my living room and watch the people walk the strip as me and my family sit down to dine. Or maybe one day I'll get me a home in one of the tall buildings in the quarters. Maybe I'll get a lavish condo so when I wake up in the morning I can hear the sound of trumpets and won't have to hear the sound of guns no more. But I was glad when God finally gave me a chance to live in one of the fancy neighborhoods, because I learned it very quickly that people who live in these neighborhoods really don't live so good. Day by day, day by day, all of my expectations begin to vanish away, because I learned it very quickly that people who live in these neighborhoods started looking stranger and stranger and stranger every day. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhoods is their kids have just as many guns. Their sons stay locked up in the bedroom for days because he's in there learning how to create bombs. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhood is that their kids are so disassociated from society, and that disassociation becomes the very fuel that makes these kids leave their homes like psychopaths and go shoot up their own schools. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhoods is that their daughters are hotter than June. She has sex on the regular, but her mama don't know because her mama ain't allowed in her room. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhoods is that their kids are smarter than their parents. By 10 years old, they have already manipulated the game. And even though their parents restrict them from social sites, they just set up a Facebook page under a different name. What they don't tell you about the upscale neighborhoods is that real marriage doesn't exist. The wife has a young man on the side and she don't mind her husband having a mistress. And no, you probably won't hear gunshots. You probably won't see loud spats. But don't get it twisted. They just fight and smoke their crack in the back in almost any night of the week. A man's wife is crying because the greatest thing she accomplished in her life is marrying a man with money. But now she's bored because a married man with money is always gone and she's stuck in this expensive house all alone, and shopping gets old when you live in the neighborhood with the designers of these expensive clothes. Rich kids never plan to step out on a limb because they know by the time they turn 10 years old, the family business is going to be turned down to them. So they celebrate, and these rich parents, they come up with these cults and they invent these new religions for their kind. But it's just a social group full of nonsense to pacify their bored minds. There's a whole lot of heroin going on behind these gates on an everyday basis. But the truth is, you never see them. When you come on the news, you never see none of their faces. And their property value will never go low because the real estate agent is only going to tell you what you need to know. He isn't going to tell you that guns are in our neighborhoods, but the people who bring the guns in live in these homes. He isn't going to tell you that our men are in jail, but crooked lawmakers who do do the same thing, live in these homes. He isn't going to tell you that drugs infest our neighborhoods, but the people who bring the drugs in live in these homes. So while you are working your butt off, missing valuable time with your family and your kids, trying to get up out the hoods, to move to the pearly gates where just as many criminals congregate, just so you can have an indoor swimming pool with a postcard view that's cool, and God bless you like that. Just don't get over there and get high society, because you'll learn very quickly that they are just as ghetto as the people you used to live next door to. Come on, Lafayette.